Hi guys, in this lesson we are going to learn the functions and how to use them in practice. Let's first create a function file here and name it to functions. Functions. And let's try to explain the functions in Python. Functions use a block of code which only runs when you call it. You can pass data known as parameter into a function. A function can return data as a result. Let's create a simple function and explain it in practice. First, before creating the function, we will define the def keyword. Then we will name the function name. It could be anything you like, but this should be that logically understandable for you, because you will use this method, the function name in the future, and then you will just print out or write in your code inside of this function here. Let's see that I would want to write the hello world, right? And then what should I do? If I just run it, it will not print anything here, but for printing it out, I will do what? I will call this function here. You could see first what we are doing here. First we are assigning the def keyword, then we are defining the function name, then this round brackets here and colon sign. Here inside of this function we are just typing what or functions or logic here inside of this code. This is the function body. Also this one is the function name, and inside of these scopes or round brackets we have what? We have parameters, and this one is the function call. We are just calling it, and like that. Here we have printed this word, but we could also return it. But before explaining the difference between print and return and explaining them, let's create another function here. First, again, we are declaring the def and then the function name add as an example, and giving one parameter here, and then we will give a colon, and it will throw us to the new line, and we will do what? We will just print out the a here. And now we will do what? We will return first. Let's, after printing it, I will call the function name here. Add 3. You could see that it will print out what? It will print out this value here, because first this is the parameter here, and we are defining the parameter inside of this function, and this parameter takes this one, and after declaring this value to this function name, the code that you are running inside of your function can just easily take this argument and print their values here. As you can see, we have printed it out. We could even give a variable here, b equals to, for example, a plus 5, and right now I have assigned b as a plus 1, and if I just run it for now, it would not print anything. But if I after b a, let's just add it after adding, the result is let's type in b here, and now if I click enter, you could see that it will print out 8 here. Before summing, the value is 3, we already know this, but after summing 5 to a to this 3, it will print out this b here, and the result is 3 plus 5 is 8. We could also return this like return, and click Alt Enter. It will again print out what the result here without problem. But what is the difference between print and return? When do we use it? Print is usually used to show a value to a human. I mean, when a return statement is reached, Python will stop the execution of the current function. And the return function is particularly useful if you have any if statements inside of your function, when you want your output to be dependent on some conditions and not printing it out. But printing is usually shows you the visual representation of your code here. But you can use either. If you have a complex code inside of your function, you can just return it and it will just work perfectly okay. Now you could see that we have assigned this value to this function name after calling it. I can even call it for another value here. Like here I have added 3 to the 5, but if I, instead of 3, I will type in 133, the result will be 138 here. It will add 5 to 133. You could see that this parameter works the same for all these function names here, because this logic is the same for all calling parameters here. We could even assign this 133 to the variable and pass what this variable here. Click Alt Enter. You could see that the result will be again the same. Let's create another function here, defining first add to function, or my add function. Does not matter, you can add whatever you want, it's up to you. And then I will do what? First I want to sum up two values here. Like if I have, before assigning the values, I will do what? I will just call my function name here, add, and let's see that I have two values here, 3 and 4, and I want to sum them. And with the help of this function, how should I do this? After the colon, I can just print out these values here, but before printing it I will have to call it here, because these arguments should be taken here. But we could type whatever we want here. I will type in A and B, and they are just defining themselves sequentially, like A is equal to 3 while B is equals to 4 here. Don't forget that. And here I can just type in A plus B and click enter. You could see that it will print out what? The result. The result will be 7. Or we could even assign this to the variable A plus B, and here type in what? The string name. After adding, just type after adding, the result is, and here I will just type in SC and click enter. You could see that after adding, the result will be the 8. 3 plus 4. In the same way it would work for another numbers, for other numbers here. If I run it, you could see that it will print another output here. This is very useful to know. You shouldn't write this code for each element here, the sum function for each element. That's why it's very easy to use. You can just use it whenever you like inside of your code. That's why functions are very useful in practice. You can call this function as many times as you like. If your function expects 2 elements, 3 or more arguments, it gets more arguments. There is no problem. You can add whatever you want and how many arguments you want here.